Good Wednesday evening, Northern Michigan. Thanks for joining us for Unscripted as we are just about halfway through the work week. Cody Bear in for Maya Engel today, and let's bring in our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. So we are at that halfway point through the work week. How does the rest of the work week look for us weather-wise?
Pretty good. The humidity is down. There's a little smoke and haze overhead, but not too big of a deal with that. And tomorrow, temperatures are going to be comfortable, right where they should be, 70s to low 80s, Cody, and I think a lot of sunshine for Thursday. So really nice one coming up. Now, we're only a few days away from the weekend. As we get toward the weekend, looks like an increasing chance maybe for some showers and storms. So if you have weekend plans, you might want to keep tuned to the forecast for that. We'll have much more on that and a look ahead in a few minutes.
Thank you, Joe. Now going to our top story tonight. As students are preparing to head back to the classroom, their parents are being asked to keep a watchful eye. In a letter sent to multiple school districts across Charlevoix County, the prosecuting attorney advised parents to be aware of two things. Our Allie Baxter explains.
What I was hoping to do with the letter is give a couple thoughts that might start that conversation.
For the 2024 to 2025 school year, the Charlevoix County prosecuting attorney says his office filed school threat charges against 7 students. Those threats targeting different school districts across the county.
There were definitely more last year than there were the year before. And it just kind of seemed like, I think there was like 3 in one day. It was just really bizarre.
Tholen says when law enforcement is made aware of the threats, his office takes action immediately.
And frequently the court is setting emergency hearings where they're dealing with it the same day even as the threat was made. And some of these kids have gone to detention literally the day they made the threat because we can't know what they're going to do tomorrow.
9 times out of 10, Tholen says the students claim to have been joking about their threats.
But it's not a joke, right?
It's certainly not funny. I can't always speak to their state of mind when they made it. I can tell you that we don't treat it as a joke, and we can't. We don't live in a world where we can treat these as a joke or even potentially a joke.
That's why before the start of the new school year, Tholen sent this letter to school districts across the county as an option to send out to parents, warning of the immediate and long-term consequences of making such threats.
Down the line, most of the time we're finding out that there was really nothing to this. There was no plan, there was no intent to carry it out, there was no ability to carry it out. They can certainly explain and give context and talk about how they've changed, but it might be something they have to answer for a decade or more into the future.
Thanks to our Allie Baxter for that story. Switching gears now, a 31-year-old murder mystery in Mason County is back in the spotlight after the body of 15-year-old Melissa Simmons was exhumed last Friday. Investigators say modern forensic science may finally be the break the case needs. The Mason County Sheriff's Office shared more on the new developments in the case during a press conference today. Our Tony Lundy was there and has the latest.
It's been more than 3 decades since Melissa Simmons disappeared, only to be found 3 days later, murdered in the Pere Marquette River. This past Friday, her body was exhumed, and for the first time in years, investigators say they're closer to answers.
Followed up on tips, conducted over 100 interviews, and including individuals who had never been interviewed before, hand deliver a specimen to a lab in Virginia. And a DNA profile was established, and that analysis continues to this day. And that's what led us to exhuming her body Friday.
Sheriff Cole says new DNA technology has never been possible until now.
We're not going to get into what that evidence was, but it was significant, and it warranted the detectives coming to me asking if we would fly them to, or fly Detective Boyd to Virginia, and it was certainly significant enough.
Detectives have followed leads across several states, which produced new persons of interest. But for now, they're holding those details close to protect the integrity of the investigation. In the past 2 years, investigators have re-examined every piece of evidence, built a new timeline, and worked closely with DNA and medical experts, all with one goal: to bring justice for Melissa, her family, and the community.
I really hope the case is solved before I choose to retire when that time comes. But if not, I know that these guys, the undersheriff and our detectives, will continue to move forward with this investigation.
In Mason County, Tony Lundy, UpNorthLive News.
A new crowdfunding campaign is being launched to support pedestrian trails in Grand Traverse County. It's being called Trailblazing Tomorrow. The goal is for two transformational projects to take shape along the Vasa Trail System. TART Trails and the Northern Michigan Mountain Bike Association are teaming up for the campaign to revitalize the trailhead at Bartlett Road and create a new state-of-the-art grooming facility at Timber Ridge. The maintenance facility would help improve winter trail grooming and year-round trail maintenance. The Trailblazing Tomorrow crowdfunding campaign will continue for 6 weeks. And to talk a little bit more about this campaign, let's bring in Brian Beauchamp, the Director of Strategic Engagement with TART Trails. And Brian, thanks so much for taking some time to join us. Can you first tell us a little bit about this campaign? You know, the kickoff, is it happening now? Are you there?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And honestly, you summed it up pretty darn well. I got to say thank you. I am here. I am at Stonehound Brewing Company. I don't know if you can see, there's a crowd in the background. We have the TART Trails tent set up. I'm wearing my TART Trails hat and my Northern Michigan Mountain Bike Association shirt because this is a collaborative initiative between those two organizations that we're kicking off the crowdfunding campaign for today. It's a $1.9 million project that has two different elements, which you talked about, the trailhead improvements and then a new year-round maintenance facility and grooming barn trail side at Timber Ridge. The goal of this project is to invest in the future expansion and continued maintenance of what people know as the Vasa Trail Network. It's a year-round destination for non-motorized trail use. Right now, it's seeing a lot of runners and mountain bikers, especially. And in the winter, it's groomed for cross-country skiing and fat biking. So, you know, it's part of the trail experience in our region. It really defines it. The state forest lands that we're so blessed to have visitors come from near and far to enjoy. And those of us who live here certainly are the stewards of it. And that's why we're here and what we're raising the money to help support.
Yeah, and when we talk about that, you know, money and kind of where it's going to, you mentioned those, you know, two aspects. Let's break them down, I guess, one at a time. Can you first tell us about, you know, the grooming facility at Timber Ridge? When we say state of the art, what are we looking at there and why is there a need for it?
So the grooming facility at Timber Ridge is really, it's a year-round maintenance facility for all of the trails in the state forest outside of Traverse City. So that includes the Vasa Pathway, the Mark single track mountain bike trails. It'll be even used for the Iceman course. It'll be capable of servicing Muncie Lakes Pathway. And as we think about continuing to expand our trail network north to Elk Rapids and even further than that, this east side facility, 6,000 square foot barn, pole barn, will be the home for volunteers and staff to store equipment and be home base for all of the different needs that we have, which are many. You know, the trail use has increased over the years. A lot of people love to go out and experience it in whatever way they like to get out. And it's a family-friendly activity. It's a great way to, you know, support personal health and wellness. I'm out there a lot myself, so I feel like this is deeply personal work as well. So that's the barn. And then you mentioned that the trailhead at Bartlett Road is a partnership with Grand Traverse County. So Bartlett Road is off of Bunker Hill, for those who are familiar with Acme Township. That's the gateway to, you know, hundreds of miles of wooded trails. And we've really outgrown the barn at that facility. And we've also, the parking area is in need of an upgrade. It gets a lot of use, and therefore some of the heavy storms that we've been getting recently have caused some serious erosion. So stormwater improvements, paving, expansion, and then just an improved overall hangout area is what I call it. There's so many people that, you know, that's their meetup spot, and that's where they finish their rides and like to, you know, have a picnic with family and friends. So just to make it more accommodating for that type of use.
Yeah, and you know, as we continue to talk about these improvements, you know, it would be easy enough to say, okay, we have the trails here, we'll take care of them, but you guys still work to improve things where you can. Why is it important to you guys at TART to continue to improve those trails?
Well, we do trail user surveys every year just to make sure that the needs of the people that are out, enjoying the trail network, whether they're supporters from a donor standpoint or volunteers or not, that we're continuing to design and maintain trails in a way that meets those expectations. And the things that we hear most frequently are safety, access, and so this is really responding to that, to make sure that the trails are safe, that they are accessible, that they're high quality, that people feel like their experience is something that they want to replicate and bring other people into. So that's really the focal point. And none of this stuff happens without community investment, and the fact that we have private investors and public support, because there are public funds, thanks to Grand Traverse County, and grants that are currently being reviewed by the state of Michigan through the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund. You can see that it really is collaboration is the key to executing all these types of initiatives, and the maintenance is a big part of it. So taking care of what we've built and what we have.
Yeah, and you mentioned that collaboration, and when it comes to community members and people involved in the community of all types, what's your biggest message to the ones who are pitching in to help you guys improve the trails?
Well, thank you. First and foremost, it's been overwhelming just tonight, even the amount of support that's come out at this event and throughout the day as part of this kickoff. So thank you. I mean, truly, it takes a village to make these types of things happen, and we all contribute in our own ways. And that's really the other part of the message is that, we have folks who are coming in at pretty high levels, 5- and 6-figure gifts. But this is the crowdfunding phase of the campaign. This is the part where folks can help out at any level that is comfortable for your home budget. And for some people, that's going to be $5. For other people, it's going to be $25. Some people will do 100 or 1,000. Some people more. But the whole point is we want you to feel like you are part of this, because this is your community trail network. TART Trails and the Northern Michigan Mountain Bike Association are the organizations that are leading the charge, but none of it happens without community stepping up. And we want to acknowledge that and celebrate that.
Yeah, and a little earlier, we talked about how this is a partnership between TART Trails and the Northern Michigan Mountain Bike Association. Can you tell me how, that partnership has been and why it's important to do it this way?
Sure. So, traditionally for the last 30 years, these organizations, TART has been focused on your paved asphalt trails. Northern Michigan Mountain Bike Association has been focused on your dirt, single track mountain bike trails. And what we found is that there's so much overlap in terms of people who use both, and then also where the support is coming from. So we are really, this campaign and this project truly is symbolic of deepening that collaboration. And, we'll see where it goes over time, but I'm just excited that 2 separate nonprofits have made the formal decision to come together around a pretty significant fundraising goal and project that will be generational in terms of its impact. I get goosebumps when I think about all the people that are part of it, and have been for many years, for decades, deciding that this is where the direction that we want to go together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. Thanks for taking some time out of that kickoff to spend some time with us. That was Brian Beauchamp, with the Director of Strategic Engagement with TART Trails. And our question of the day is involved kind of with this, and it is, how often do you use the pedestrian trails across northern Michigan? Currently, the vote, you had a few options. You could say daily, which has 13%, weekly at 20% of the vote, monthly at 10%, a couple times per year at 17%, or don't use the trails at 41%. There's still time to vote on our website, UpNorthLive.com, and our UpNorthLive Facebook page. We'll take a look at those a little later in the show. We're going to take our first break of the show. When we get back, we'll check in with Joe Charlevoix about how the second half of our work week will look weather-wise. Keep it here.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back to Unscripted as we check in with Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix. And Joe, nice enough day today, but there is some of that haze back in the forecast, correct?
Yeah, we still have a little smoke and haze, although it's not as bad as it was a week or two ago when we had really poor air quality. It's noticeable, but the levels aren't as bad out there today. And I don't think it'll be a big issue going forward here. But you can see it. I mean, take a look there in Petoskey. You're looking out to the west out over Little Traverse Bay. And they always say Lake Michigan looks like an ocean, doesn't it, though, when you look at this picture? But you can see the haze there. Visibility usually is around 10 miles. Right now it's down to about 7 there in Petoskey. Let's start with that. There's a look at the smoke right now, mainly the northern portion of our viewing area. We have a north wind, so watch what that does. It'll push the smoke downstate, sort of, by tomorrow morning. And then it'll kind of hang out there, kind of dissipate some, not as thick, and then kind of linger over the area through Friday. So I think a little hazy, but nothing that is going to be like what we had a couple weeks ago, as we mentioned. All right, our satellite picture tonight, here it is. It is dry across the entire state. A nice evening, a little bit of rain way out in western Minnesota and parts of South Dakota. That's not heading our way. We had a cold front pass through. That now lies in the northeast. You can see that boundary pushing off the east coast. And to the north of us, we have a very dry air mass. Dew points are in the 40s and 50s. And that's kind of what you want to see here in the summer. The lower that number is, the more comfortable it is. And we have a wind, as we mentioned, from the north. So here's our wind direction right now. You can see the arrows. So that's pulling that drier air mass south into our area. And here's a local look at dew points with 50s to around 60s. So again, pretty nice one across northern Michigan. It'll stay that way tomorrow, but then we're looking at Saturday. The dew point jumps up to 70. I point that out because it's going to feel really muggy again for one day, just for Saturday. And then we drop back down to the low 60s on Sunday. As far as any rain, well, there's Thursday. We're not going to see any. There's Friday, dry. And then as we get into Saturday, that's when maybe a few showers and storms. You see the UP there, maybe early Saturday. Storms to the west of us will start building, and it looks like eventually later Saturday night into Sunday, we do have that chance for some showers and storms. So when you look at the extended forecast here, we have those put in. There we are Saturday, mainly lower Michigan Sunday. A couple warm days too, returning Friday, Saturday, and then another chance for some rain early next week. So kind of a typical August forecast,
Yeah.
but a couple nice days coming up tomorrow and also on Friday, Cody.
I'll take my outdoor walks over the next 2 days.
Yeah, get
before
those
we
out
get
of
to
the
the
way,
weekend.
right.
Yeah, get those out of my system. Thank you, Joe. We're going to take another quick break. When we get back, we'll check in with Sports Director Harrison Beebe. Stay with us. Welcome back to Unscripted. We're now going to check in with our sports director, Harrison Beebe. Harrison, out in the field right now. Where are you?
Cody, I am out in beautiful Boyne City, making stop number 3 tonight on my countdown to kickoff tour, checking out all the Northern Michigan football teams, getting ready for the season to get started in just over 2 weeks. In fact, 2 weeks from tomorrow will be the opening night of kickoff for most teams across the state, especially here in Northern Michigan. So little time really to put the finishing touches on what will be a quick 9-game regular season for 2025 and what many teams hope will be more if they get in the postseason as well. But yeah, kickoff will be 15 days from now. And Boyne City, it's convenient enough that I'm here. They went the farthest of any Northern Michigan team a year ago, all the way to the state semifinals in Division 6. They did lose some key parts, but I'm about to talk to Coach, and I have a feeling that the group is going to be pretty hungry to try and duplicate what they did a year ago.
Yeah, I love it. And I know you're on the football field right now, but can we talk a little bit about the Diamond? Because last night I know the Pittsburgh season did come to a close. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise. I kind of had in my mind blocked off Friday night to be back at Turtle Creek Stadium for the Northwoods League Championship game. After all, they had the best record in the league. Offhand, I'm going to assume the best offense in the league. So it really kind of looked like a formality once they secured home field. Obviously, especially in a one-game playoff scenario, that isn't guaranteed. But the Green Bay Rockers did not seem rocked, phased in any way last night. They jumped out early and then kind of put the nail in the coffin in a 6th-run, 7th inning. That kind of did the trick, sucked the air out of Turtle Creek Stadium for sure. The Pittsburghers ratted a little bit, scoring 5 runs in the final 2 innings. But when the other team has 10, it kind of means you're facing too difficult of a wall to climb, and that means they're done for the season, and Green Bay is playing for the championship.
Yeah, Harrison, and while we have you, before we let you go, anything else big that you want to talk about sports-related or what we're going to see tonight?
You know, good to see the Tigers bounce back, albeit just 1-0, but a win's a win. So the Tigers back in the win column after a loss to Chicago last night. So they get out of that series with a win, and now they have Minnesota for 4 straight this weekend. So we're really in the latter stages of the MLB regular season. About a month and a half to go there. So really a pressing point for the Tigers if they want to follow through on this dominant season.
Yeah, we're getting close. Sports Director Harrison Beebe, thanks for joining us there from the Gridiron. We're going to take our final break of the show, but when we get back, we'll take one last look at our question of the day. We'll be right back.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Well, if you're just joining us, a new crowdfunding campaign is being launched to support pedestrian trails in Grand Traverse County. It's being called Trailblazing Tomorrow, and they're gaining money to work on a couple of different projects. So that led us to ask our question of the day, which today it is, how often do you use the pedestrian trails across northern Michigan? 41% of people said they don't use the trails, and you just saw it move from 40 back to 41. That leaves just about 50, now it's going to 60 to 59% that do use them between daily, weekly, monthly, and a couple times per year. So thank you for weighing in if you did, for voting on that, and thank you for joining us for Unscripted. Have a great night, Northern Michigan.